I'm channeling Reverend Amandra.
Oh, good.
Good morning, church.
Good morning.
I love that.
Good morning.
I just love that. It is a great morning, kind of a little chilly. Our dog Rusty was barking at the ceiling. He was only born in September and he's never heard the rain, so it was all new to him.
Oh.
He was having a great time this morning, like, "Argh." So it is a good day today, and you know me, Reverend Maurene. I'm going to talk about creative mind and success. Now, you may recall 2 weeks ago, Reverend Kate talked about creative mind, and I'm going to talk about a little different, creative mind and success. Ernest Holmes was 32 years old when he wrote and published both of these books. He had not yet written the Science of Mind textbook. So I want to mention the technique for using creative mind, which ensures success in business, in friendship, in health, in everything. I know it's kind of geared toward business, but it's not just business. So I want to talk about this, and also, this happens to me sometimes. I don't know if it happens to you. I prepare a talk, and then 5:30 in the morning on Sunday, I get a different download. So I have a different download, but I'm going to wait until the end of this talk, and then I'll give you what that little secret that came to me. So, but first, our moment of levity. A quote from an interview with the head of a growing company. The journalist asks, she says, "How many employees are working in your company?" And the CEO says, "Well, approximately half of them." What sort of money do you need to start your own landscaping business?
Green.
Hedge fund.
Hedge fund.
And an owner is interviewing candidates for an accounting position. Each candidate is asked only one question. How much is 1 + 1? And the first candidate says, well, 2. The owner says, well, thank you very much. We'll be in touch. The second candidate, same thing. How much is 1 + 1? And he responds the same way. 1 + 1 is 2. Thank you, thank you. We'll be in touch. Finally, the owner asks the third person, how much is 1 + 1? And the reply is, how much do you want it to be? Yes. So back to success. Successful interview. But success, success is defined as an accomplishment of an aim or purpose. And Ernest Holmes said, it is right that we should be successful, for otherwise spirit's not expressed. The divine cannot lack for anything. So when I was 28 years old, I was living in San Francisco, graduated from law school, was underemployed, but I was approached by a headhunter. And I don't know if you all know what a headhunter is. It's an executive recruiter, basically. And he came to me with a couple of jobs, and one was in Portland. I interviewed and got the job. And it was a great job, a great entry-level middle management. So I became a manager. Now, what they do, big companies, this was a Fortune 500 company, they require their managers to be trained to take classes. And so I took a series of classes because they want you as a manager to motivate your staff to do what's called planning, corporate planning, goal setting, and a statement. You set a mission statement at the beginning of each year to see if you meet your goals. So part of it was just focus your thinking. And I studied, at that time I studied several American writers who were successful in business. And these writers were people this may be familiar to you: Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich; Wallace Wattles, The Science of Wealth; Bob Proctor, who worked on the movie The Secret. His book was You Were Born Rich. Zig Ziglar, he was the greatest salesman in the US. Andrew Carnegie gave the most money away in his lifetime. Warren Buffett, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates. I could name a lot. I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of them. But what this fellow did, this one individual, Napoleon Hill, he interviewed 200 business women and men to find out how would they become successful. Now, in studying and comparing Ernest Holmes and these guys, I noticed there are many things that are saying forgiveness and gratitude. Wallace Wattles talks a lot about that. No procrastination. And Ernest Holmes calls it the law of action. Get in there, act. And it's funny, Warren Buffett says, don't suck your thumb. I read that, don't suck your thumb. He's talking about don't procrastinate. When you review something, make a decision and go for it. Plan ahead. Use your imagination, your intuition. So it's interesting, all of these people like Carnegie and Bill Gates and Wallace Wattles, they had a consciousness of wealth. Now, Wattles also believed in something called no competition, because the universe is unlimited. You don't need to compete. You just create your own path. It's kind of interesting. And we've seen that, well, I'm sure, Robert, you and I, as lawyers, we've seen the change in business. Instead of being win-win, win-lose, which was, win-lose was big for many years. It's win-win. You want to do more mediation. It's cheaper, and people come to better understanding, and they can work with each other, and they listen to each other. So we don't need the competition. So why is Holmes different? Well, before I answer that, have you ever gone into a bookstore and looked for Ernest Holmes' book? I have, and sometimes Ernest Holmes is with these speakers. He's a motivational speaker. He's considered motivational. So you find him with Wallace and Andrew Carnegie and all these folks. But other stores and libraries put him in the religion and spirituality section. So I thought, he really is both. Because he teaches all these elements, forgiveness and gratitude and don't procrastinate, etc. But he is first spiritual, and then he aligns himself with good. The other thing is he explains what it is. The first 4 chapters of the book, Science of Mind, tell you what it is, how it works, how to use it. He's talking about God, and which is synonymous with creative mind. So it teaches you how to use it. Now, Napoleon Hill, who was the young investigator who interviewed Andrew Carnegie, and Andrew Carnegie was an interesting man because he was thought of kind of a robber baron, but he also, in the latter part of his life, gave away 90% of his wealth, which was $10.5 billion in today's dollars. And he wrote a book called The Gospel of Wealth, calling on the rich to use their wealth. Now, he and Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, they have been in the flow. They're giving and receiving. It's a law of circulation. You give and you receive. And they've got that one down. But during this interview with Carnegie dropped a hint of a certain master power that he used, a magic law of the human mind. Magic, right? we know it's not magic, a little known principle that was amazing in its power. And Carnegie suggested to Hill that he could use this principle and build a philosophy of all personal success, measured in money, power, position, prestige, influence, etc. And so he wrote this book, Think and Grow Rich. And it captivated a lot of people. It became a bestseller. It made him $1 million. Because he says in the book, he lays out that you can grow rich simply by using your thoughts. So he said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And to believe that you are created by the power that's greater than yourself means anything is possible. Now, many people have said this same concept, so I'm not sure that he was the original on this one. You know, and it's interesting, Warren Buffett doesn't use the same words, he doesn't talk about spirituality, but he uses a lot of the same expressions. Like he said, don't procrastinate, don't suck your thumb. Spell out the deal before you start it. What he's saying is, write down the details, focus your mind, get your details, and be persistent. Ernest would call that faith and continuing to treat. So Ernest also has a lot of treat and move your feet. That means keep working on it. Be persistent. Now, Bob Proctor, I don't know, I'm not sure Bob is still alive, but he was worked on The Secret. And one of the things he talked about, and I'm not sure if he created it, but there's a mastermind group. I used to belong to a mastermind group. Nowadays, I think they call it the Power of 8, or it's similar to this, where people get together and create. It's a lot of fun, actually. And Proctor talked about using your imagination, your intuition. Now, Wallace Wattles, he was an interesting guy because he was probably born the same time as Carnegie back in the early 1800s. But he basically just said, change your thoughts, shift your thinking. I'm not sure if he gave this example. I think he gave this example. If you want to buy a red car, you start seeing red cars everywhere. The same principle applies to wealth. When you focus on abundance, your brain begins to notice opportunities that align with that mindset. He said, practice gratitude. And we all know that's the fourth step of treatment. Ernest tells us, Thanksgiving, gratitude. Stop waiting for the perfect time. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is waiting for the perfect time. Oh, things aren't right, you know. The only time is now. Now is it. The only resources you need are the ones you already possess. So create your vision, and it does require specificity. I know it. Use some questions to ask yourself, well, how much money do I want to earn? What kind of lifestyle do I want to live? Where do I want to live? How do I want to use my physical body? What kind of food do I want to eat? How often do I want to exercise? The more detailed your vision, I think the easier it is to be aligned your thoughts and your actions with your goal. And some people say, well, I don't know, Maurene. It's like, well, just put out the feeling. What is the feeling you want to attain? Do you want to feel happy? Do you want to feel free? And just turn it over and say, this or something greater, and allow the highest good. So, these authors, you know, they're fun to read, you know, compared to Science of Mind. But some of them have some strange ideas about in putting their will on somebody else. We don't do that. We don't impress our will on someone else. We don't force anything. We don't try hard, It's like, oh, no. It's more of speak your word. Ask for what you want. Be clear. Have your feeling. Impress it on the creative mind, not on someone else. This cute little book, Creative Mind and Success, says, if people are made in the spiritual image and likeness of God, our mind must be made out of God's mind. Our mind is part of God's mind. We have the same power in our individual life that God has in the universal. All causation is mental, and we're able, by thinking, to set in motion a power that creates. So we don't coerce anybody or anything. And quote from the Bible, it's done unto you as you believe. And the good is already ours. So, I always say, or philosophers say, I think, therefore I am. You are. You already are. You already are a being. And you live and are conscious of life. You are life. So, we are a center of God on this physical plane. Whatever God is in the universal, we must be in the individual world. And the difference between God and one of us is not of degree. It's one of degree, but not quality. So we have the quality of God, but yes, obviously we're not as big as the universe. Our mind is God's mind, and all that we are, ever will be, all that we will ever have, must be of divine nature. We govern our world by the power of our thought. We're one with God. There's nothing to separate us from God. By the activity of our thought, some things come into our life. We are limited when we think outside things control us. No, it's all in here. When all the time we have within us that which can give us freedom from fear, from failure, from sickness, and from poverty. We're the cause to all the effects in our life. So don't blame your mom or your dad or your brother or your sister or your teacher or your spouse. Don't blame anybody. We live in mind, and it can return to us only what we think into it. Mind has no choice but to return to us what we have thought into it. So again, Robert mentioned it, the Master Jesus said, it is done to you, unto you, even as you have believed. So you can create consciously or unconsciously. Ernest Holmes says, think of the creative power of the soil. The soil receives all seeds put into it and once begins to work on it. So that the mind must receive all thought and begins to operate upon it. We're making our environment by the creative power of our thought. But be careful what you think. Be careful. That's another talk title. Ernest talks about what happens when you think negative thoughts or even harmful thoughts. But we'll be careful. We have a power. It's amazing. He said, first embody an atmosphere of desire. And this will decide what is to be drawn to you. You never saw a successful person who went around with an atmosphere of failure. He says, also, life is not weak. You are not weak. You're strong with the strength of the infinite. Nothing can hinder things from coming to the person who knows that they're dealing with the same power. You can say to yourself, I'm one with the infinite mind. Does everyone here have affirmation? I am one with God. I am one with infinite mind. I am strong. I am healthy. I am beautiful. It goes on and on. These are some good things to set your day straight, 7 in the morning. You know, the universe is inexhaustible and limitless. It knows no bounds. So make your request first with thanksgiving. And don't forget to forgive. This was one message I got at 5:30 this morning. It said, don't go to the table with stickers in your back pocket. It won't sit right. I had been reading something earlier about basically people that condemn other people but expect to be given the gifts of spirit. And I think it's important to realize, give thanks and forgive. Those are big basics. Then accept the gift. So, your thinking sets in motion a power that creates. So see yourself surrounded by everything that you desire. How does it feel? How does it look? Example, imagine you're a teacher, maybe a 4th grade teacher, and you want a new experience. So you apply to a Montessori school. And you visualize beforehand, you visualize the children in front of you, you visualize the room in the building, you visualize the parking lot with your car in it. You imagine receiving your first check from work, and you feel what it feels like to already have that job. It feels like fun. You see the kids and you're filled with joy, and the teachers and administrators are wonderful people, and you feel that. You feel that. And you give blessing. You act as if it's already done, already so. Because it is in mind, it's already done. You give gratitude, give thanksgiving, you're blessed. So it's that easy. It's so easy. Thought is form. We had a class last year on mental equivalence. That's what we're talking about. You create the form for spirit to flow into. So easy. Just remember, we don't wish. And I'm not sure who said it, if it was Ernest. We need less wishbone and more backbone. But we have to stop wishing. We declare. If you're poor, then be rich in your thinking. Imagine yourself what you want to be. Stick to it. Remember, life is a constant choice. We choose and mind creates. Choose that which will express a greater life. Spirit is always seeking to express love and beauty through us. So choose love and beauty. Now, age is not a limitation. I just found out Mary Baker Eddy was 60 years old before she started creating Christian Science movement. 60. Life is what we make it from within and never from without. We're just as old as we think we are, no matter what the number of years may have been that we have lived on this planet. 29 is okay. So, at 5:30 this morning, I thought, Spirit is working through us. It's enjoying life. Otherwise, why would we be created? We're here to express this power, this presence, this life, this love. And I was thinking, and this song kept playing in my mind. It was Cyndi Lauper, Girls Just Want to Have Fun, but it was God Just Wants to Have Fun. God just wants to have fun. And I was thinking, it's so easy to do treatment. Have fun with it. Think about it as a fun activity. Just create. And it doesn't have to be gigantic. It can be something small. Even a parking spot. I do that all the time, and some people say, oh, that's a misuse of the law of mind. It's God's pleasure to give whatever you want, how small, how big. Sometimes I just say, oh, surprise me. and just allow it, whatever. You know, I told that story before. I just said, surprise me for Christmas, and all of a sudden somebody gives me a piano that had been played by the Beatles, you know, from England. And I was like, oh, well, thank you. You know, what fun. So I'm just saying this week, play with new ideas, fun ideas. Like me, I was raised in a Catholic Lutheran home, and God was supposed to be solemn, and going to church, you had to be quiet. Maybe that's just because kids make a lot of noise, but we had to be quiet. We had to be reserved. I don't think that's what spirit is. Like we say, spirit is joy. We can get out there and be joyful. Act a little silly. You have my permission. So, Marianne Williamson said, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. So don't let the darkness frighten you. Just find that joy and dance right out of here. So speak your word for your good. And you know, if you like doing this, you can create a mission statement for yourself. It's really fun to do. And I'll bring some forms. I have a form, but we can do our mission statements later. You're the CEO of a very important person. You are that expression. You are the vehicle for the divine. So practice daily, have fun, sing and dance and create and tell jokes and laugh. You know, and do you ever hear Reverend Kate's laugh? Isn't it amazing? Or Morgan's laugh, or Maddox's laugh, you know. Laugh, express the divine, and that's joy. So join us later for Change Your Thinking and have some fun. So it is.
Okay.